Ladies and gentlemen, Two Dudes Talk Music in conjunction with E. Brown Industries and Big Jerry Burger brings to you everybody's new favourite game show, Get in the Bin. Now, let's go to our host, Reverend Raph and the beer buddy, Kyle. Welcome back to the Two Dudes Talk Music YouTube channel, everybody. I am the Reverend Raph here with my good friend Kyle, aka the Beer Buddy, and we are joined by John, Josh, and Husey from LØNER. It is time for everybody's favourite game show on a Sunday night. It is time for Get in the Bin. Now, this is where we ask our very esteemed guests if they could have phenomenal cosmic power and could snap their fingers and eliminate things out of the music business. What would they be and why? Since we've got three of you today, gentlemen, we might grab two things from each of you and then see how we're going for time. Whoever wants to go first, feel free to jump in, and you can either do your two and move on, or we can go around doing one from everybody and then get a second one from everybody. Really up to you guys how you want to do it, but who wants to go first?
I got one.
All right.
And that would be to put in the bin the cost of insurance at a lot of these venues, because a lot of these venues, they're sort of closing their doors on live music because it's just the insurance that's involved with it is just too much, and a lot of them are just saying, nah, we're not going to do it now. Mm-hmm. It's just happening too much now. And then there's a lot of venues that are just not putting on live music anymore. So definitely that in the bin.
Well, I mean, you know, we just saw recently like the Zoo closing up here in Brisbane. Thankfully, the Crowbar crew has swooped in to the rescue. So Crowbar Brisbane is going to be making a glorious return.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe we should reach out to those guys and have them on the podcast to talk about it.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
That could be a cool idea.
Because they have had a massive, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and look,
the Australian metal scene.
Yeah, like the fact that what they've done for the Bald-Faced Stag in terms of, you know, saving that, getting rid of the TAB, Pokies. Getting rid of the Pokies and making it work as a music venue, impeccable work. So, but yeah, no, that's the insurance and just the cost of doing that stuff it's hurting venues, and it's taking away opportunities from not just metal bands, but from musicians all across the spectrum. So, you know, that's pretty crazy. That's a good one though. That's a good one. Who's next?
Well, I've got my two. So, first one, stairs.
I love them one.
Stairs in the bin.
Yeah.
Out. Yeah. If you're inviting stairs to the party, I'm not coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stairs aren't too bad if there's a lift, but when there's a venue that's all stairs, no lift, that's fucked.
No more stairs. If you're gonna make us play in a basement like the Chippo or something like that, give us an elevator, man. Why are we carrying 412s and drum kits down a 30 flight of stairs?
Where is it? I've seen some shocking ones, man. Like, I think when I played in Orange, when I was still in Tensions Arise, we went out to play Orange with Deprivation, and I think we played the OXO. Might have been. And I remember someone trying to load out an Ampeg fridge down the stairs at the back.
Oh, God.
Yeah, not cool.
No.
Not cool. And then, you know, you got like venues up here like Tomcat that has some very, very steep stairs.
Did you ever play the Record Crate in Glebe?
I don't think I did. I don't think I played that before I left Sydney. So is that pretty bad?
Narrow staircase that went up like this to the top, and it was all hard wooden, but it was creaky, and it was like this friggin' wide, and yeah, it was a nightmare.
Oh, proper nightclub entrance.
Yeah, basically, that's what it was. And it was just
it's a shocker.
Creaky, hardwood floors.
It's a shocker. It's awful. Yeah. It's awful. What about
my second one? Would be not so prevalent in Australia. I think it sort of came and went, but just for the music in general, all around the world, merch cuts. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's money. That's that was for the band, by the band. So
it's coming into Australia if you're a bigger band, and it's
there has been instances where it's hit Australia in the last couple of years, like post COVID. And I get it. People want to keep the doors open, and people, need their money for keeping, things afloat. But there's other ways to do it. Like, if you're hosting an event with the band, those bands can pull. You're getting bar sales, you're getting door tickets, you're getting other revenue streams. These bands print these shirts to sell so they can make it to the next show, or make their next flight, or this or that. You're taking, like, the way I see it is you're taking food off their table by taking away their merch money.
Yeah. I've always said two things. If you're going to take 10% of my merch, I want 10% of your bar because I'm bringing the punters through the door.
Exactly.
And the only way I'm going to give you a cut of the merch is if you give me someone to stand at that merch table, count the money, sort the money, and actually provide me one of your staff.
Yeah. If you're providing me with someone to sell,
they deserve to get paid.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. But
Bingo.
if you're not going to do that, give me a table and get out of my way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
That's my favorite one so far.
Yeah, look,
that was the first 2 years of this podcast. That's when it was really bad. I think the first 2 years of this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's really dropped off.
Yeah. Venues and booking companies are learning how unpopular it is, and it doesn't ingratiate them with the fans at all.
Well, especially when you've got bands turning around and saying, just come and see me in the car park with my square.
Yep, exactly.
I've seen that happen. There's a band called the Callous Cowboys. They sort of sound like the Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yep.
And they were in tour, I think, in Europe somewhere, and the venue tried to take, it was like, I don't know if it was them or another band, but there was a thing going around. The venue tried to take like 50%. And they said, fuck you, and started selling out of their van in the car park.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and people, fans want to look at that and go, oh, well, you guys agreed to that when you signed the thing. It's like, you don't have a choice a lot of the time, especially if you're out there touring. You have to take the venues that you can get, and sometimes you really don't have much choice. But my philosophy has always been, if I'm ever playing somewhere and the venue wants to take a merch cut, sorry guys, we're not selling merch that night. And if anyone wants to come up and ask us about, and we'll say it on stage, we'll be like, look, really sorry guys, we're not selling any merch tonight because the venue wanted to take a cut of it, and we're not. Sorry, we don't roll like that. So if you wanna get some merch, we'll have like a QR code to our merch store or something like that. The other option that I've seen bands utilize is pre-sales. They'll like pre-sell stuff and only sort of hand that out to people that are at the show. It'll be like, if you've pre-bought,
hey, that's a good idea.
See us at this show, so that way they're not buying it at the show. You're just bringing whatever people are picking up, and it's there, and that you haven't sold anything that night, so the venue's not, But we have talked a lot on this podcast about merch sales.
Well, you've got guys with bigger platforms, like Tank the Tech as well. He's a pretty big, YouTuber and streamer, and he calls this stuff out all the time, and he's got a big following. And then I think there was even a clip, might have been a little while ago, even Rodney Radke was called out a venue on stage for trying to take merch cuts from all the bands. So, it's obviously a thing that's frowned upon in the industry. And so, when you have people with these bigger platforms even advocating for like, hey, stop this, we're working. Music is our work. This is our livelihood. You're taking food off our tables. This is how we feed our families.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
And it also, I think, ties into the perception that a lot of people have of, if you're a touring musician, like, a band like, I don't know, Head PE, right? We'll talk about a band like Head PE. They're out there and they're touring, they're constantly touring because that's how they make a living, and they're not like, they're not living it up fancy with like limos and shit. Like, they're out there on the tour bus, putting in the shitty hours, doing the thing. Hell, I think even like Lamb of God, I can remember when they released the documentary, the As the Palaces Burn documentary, about where they sort of covered Randy's trial and everything. They were showing the guys from Lamb of God, and like, we would look at them and go, holy shit, they're incredibly successful. They've sold millions of albums. They tour the world in arenas and blah, blah, blah. They just live in the suburbs. They got normal houses. They live in the suburbs. They live a normal life. They're not like fucking, they're doing well for themselves, but they're not like what most people would consider rich.
No, they're just getting crippling debt. I think it might have been.
And that comes from the mentality of the rock star visual that everyone seems to have. So,
dude, people think, you're a rock star, you're rich, you're playing these festivals, this and that, but not realizing how hard the slog actually is. And when going back to a band like Head PE, I'm pretty sure, and they've been around for what 20+ years at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm pretty certain they're still like DIY as fuck, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. They do a lot of stuff DIY. Like they do their own sound checks and
Probably print their own merch even.
100%. I saw an MTV Cribs one time, and I think it might have been Rob Flynn. I want to say it was Rob Flynn. And they walked into the most basic art. It was a house in the suburbs, man. It weren't no big. It was, but you know what the thing is? I guarantee the thing's paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't owe anyone nothing for it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get it back on track. Josh, can you give us your first thing that you would put in the bin and why?
Yeah, my first one was going to be merch cuts as well. But yeah, I guess to move on from that, probably just the toxicity that is in the music scene at the moment, man. There's a lot of it, and there's a lot of people who will use people in other bands just to get somewhere in their own band. And then as soon as they're done with them, completely forget about them. And that kind of attitude fucking sucks.
I'm pretty sure all 6 of us could name names when it comes to that.
Yeah.
That's for
We
sure.
definitely could, but we won't.
Yeah.
Appreciate
that.
Appreciate it.
But we do understand what you're saying. There is and I have sort of said it a couple of times on the podcast before, is that it's a real disheartening thing when you see other metal bands make it big and the olive branches aren't being reached down back to the brothers and sisters that help you or you watch go through the shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where, you know, a bit more love in that sense would be fucking beautiful because when one of us thrives, the rest of us thrive. And
rising tides lift all ships.
Exactly. You know, when eyes are on the Australian scene and everyone's doing well, that means there's enough love for everyone. It shouldn't be such a selfish thing.
Yeah, well, that's where an event like Metal to the Max was so refreshing because everyone that was out there was there because they love music and metal music especially, and it was to see that, you know, literally hundreds, probably like 300-400 people in the one place that had traveled that far to partake in an event of that nature. You know,
that speaks to how strong the community is as well.
Yeah, and just everyone was feeling the love, so that was really, really special. But yeah, I get you. Like
next year,
the toxicity can absolutely get in the bin. All right, so John, did you have another one for us?
Nah, that's it.
You just had the one.
All right. Well, Josh, do you have another one that you want to throw in before we?
Nah, that's all I had, man. Just those two.
All right. Well, Husey, do you have one more that you want to? Given that there's been a pass there, you can. We'll give you another one if you want
to. Okay. Well, you know what I would say? Venues that don't have parking lots in the bin.
Yeah,
I'm sick of driving around the block 20 times. I'm sick of paying for parking tickets in a 2-hour zone and then having to pay for tickets every 2 hours when we're there from 2 o'clock till 11 o'clock, especially in the city. But, you know, if you're going to have things that you want people to come to, make it accessible. You know what I mean? I get that one. I get that's not always a thing based on location, but if you can, you should.
Yeah, I agree.
And the irony,
those 12-hour things at the pubs are a slog, but
the irony being, like, you know, the venues that have parking lots tend to be not quite as accessible by public transport, and the venues that are accessible by public transport or are more accessible by public transport tend not to have parking lots. So it's kind of a catch-22, you know, like it's either better for the bands or better for the punters. But no, I get you. I do get you. Like, I mean, the amount of times I can remember scrambling to you know, unload my shit on the sidewalk outside Agincourt, have someone stand with it while I then drive back to park, and then quickly run back so we can move the gear inside. You know, or when I've managed to pull into that tiny ass driveway next to it so I can, you know,
I remember that,
load in and then quickly go back and park somewhere. It's tight.
The Burdekin has to be one of my least favorite just for that, because
you
park
at least they have an elevator.
Yeah, that's true.
They do have an elevator, but they do have an elevator. You got to wait like 10 minutes for it.
Yeah, and you park 3 blocks away, and you've got to wheel your cabs up 3 blocks on the fucking road, and it's just
that answer that I gave that comes from from a loading in and loading out perspective. I'm not saying in general, but for
Yeah.
the bands that come, they bring the gear like we were just talking about the guy bringing the fridge down the stairs.
Yeah.
You know, when I give that answer, it comes from a loading gear in and out perspective.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, 100%.
Absolutely.
They
The
do.
Agincourt was one of the worst. You had those tiny ass little stairs to walk up out of the basement part, or from the, at least if the top part was done, you were in the top part, you had a bit wider stairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's, I guess it's amongst the musicians circle. That's our little pet peeve. It's like,
Yeah.
we all play. Oh, we're all getting together tonight. Where are we playing? Oh, and you know it's a collective sigh.
But this
except
is where
every single
Which
singer.
we are guilty of, by the way.
Yeah, but this
Singers
is
are
where
fine.
this is where sharing gear is can help things, I guess, and
Definitely.
it's it promotes that sort of environment. And look, if you're, I understand wanting to protect your gear and ensure it's kept safe and things like that, but this is where when you're buying your gear, you need to be aware of, all right, am I going to be comfortable sharing this with someone? Because that's bound to come up at some point.
Definitely.
And, obviously we're not talking about like people borrowing like your $6,000 bass guitar or anything. But, when you're buying a cabinet as a bass player or a guitarist, you need to go, all right, am I going to be okay with people using this? Because it's going to come up, because that's just the environment that we're working in. And
I remember a band years ago over in Newcastle. I played a show with, and they were very staunch on bloody not lending any gear out to anybody. They all wanted to use their own stuff, to a point where the drummer wanted to use his whole kit entirely. He wanted a completely new kit for his set. So I'm just like, I had my kit there and everyone else was using it, but he was like, no, I want my one. I was like, okay. Packed it away, put it away. Then he was setting his up. They only had like 10 minutes of their set, and that was it to play till the venue had to shut down. It's like, well,
yeah,
that's your doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it takes longer than 10 minutes to set up a whole kit. So what was the point?
Exactly right.
But
Yeah.
going back to the
I'm just
Agincourt,
trying to make everything smooth. Like, I put my kit out there. If I'm putting it out there, everyone's using it. No questions asked.
Yeah, like we're always happy to lend gear, and like we were talking about before with Tom and Grindhead, like we're always happy to help out the people that help us out as well. So, but going back to the Agincourt real quick, if you don't mind, I've actually got some trivia from the Agincourt. So you guys probably would have known Greg.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we actually, Josh's Engel cab that he owns that we use in the band was Greg's Engel backline from Valbar. So we have that.
No.
Nice.
I
bought
wonder
it
if that
off
would have been
him,
a
man.
Tempe. That would have been a Tempe as well, surely.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Far
There you
out.
go. There you go. All the connections and everything.
He put it on Gumtree, I think, and I messaged him when Josh moved from bass to guitar. We were looking for a cab for him, and I'd found it, and I went and met up with him. His name was Greg on his username, but I didn't put two and two together. And then I went and met up with him at a storage locker in the city, and the whole of Valve Bar was in there. So I'm talking the lights, all the cabs, everything, all the sound gear, the sound desk, everything on, or his whole entire backline. And I go, oh shit, you're Greg from Valbar. That's where I know you from. And so and so now we have a piece of Agincourt history in our band. So that Engel cab, there was a backline that probably, 50,000 people have probably played through prior. We own that and use that live now. So.
Oh hell yeah! You got that's cool. You got the osmosis. You got the vibes of the 15 years of the Australian metal scene, the Sydney metal scene going through.
Blood, sweat, and grime.
Absolutely.
Jeez,
All right.
Man.
Well, there we go. That is the things that Loner would put in the bin. Very much appreciate that, gentlemen. It's not always nice talking about the negative things, but we try and do it in a lighthearted manner here. So thank you very, very much. As we said before, if you want to keep up with what these boys are doing, links are going to be down in the description. If you had a great time with us today, please consider liking and subscribing. It's always very much appreciated. But even if not, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch everybody next time. Peace out.
Peace.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We really hope you had a good time. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell down there. It helps the channel grow. We are still a fairly young channel, and we like to try and grow our audience all over the world. We do also, for those of you who are interested, have a Patreon. It's just a couple of bucks a month. At the moment, you get all the videos early and ad-free, but we are working on ways to increase the value of that and make it a bit more enticing. So don't forget to keep an eye out and check back on what's going on over there. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.